Hello, I feel like making a video, and I only have a vague idea of what I'm going to say, but I'm just gonna riff. Got my diary here where obviously I note down my thoughts and progress and practice and all that kind of stuff. And I've noticed something about being on a spiritual quest of self-improvement, if you like, or or introspection, and with the notion of wanting to purify and reach, new levels of consciousness and this kind of thing. You see, like, obviously 2020 has been very difficult, hasn't it? In so many ways. And I mean, for me, it's almost been like I wouldn't want to think about things being any worse, because I can't fully relax because there's things hanging over my head that I don't know how they're going to quite resolve, in terms of a personal attack. And rooted in revenge. It's an ugly thing, isn't it? And obviously with the whole process of leaving a really bad town, with just living in that vibe every day with the rubbish and the social decay and all that kind of thing, coming out to the going getting this vehicle together, this new lifestyle, coming out to live in the countryside areas, and obviously there's always a notion of risk, and you have to sort of move forward confidently, realizing that you can't just have everything sorted out in 5 minutes, and as if that ever happens, where everything falls into place. It's amazing how only a few things can change, and sometimes in your mind you can be living this amazing adventure, and all kinds of things are coming together, and then just a few parameters shift, and you can have a few days where you feel down about things. And there's something that I've noticed that's happened in me. You see, obviously I made a lot of progress in meditation. It became a daily a normality, if you like, and I really enjoy going into those deeper states, sinking in with the breath, and really feeling a balancing process taking place, and seeing as though this is like the night before the special day, the way that me and others are considering this beginning of the age of Aquarius, and the conjunction and all that kind of thing. So I won't be going to sleep tonight. I'm going to stay up late, and throughout the whole night, and I'm going to get there. I say there, the Stones, where me and Samuel Connor meet every year. He'll be along, obviously. Not sure exactly what time, but I'm going to build a fire, and I have prepared a symbol which I will put up later on to sort of signify this moment, this day. And I want to film a meditation as well, as a way. It might, it seems a bit bombastic, doesn't it, to think that anyone would want to join in, but at the very least, for myself, because whenever I feel myself wandering, I can have a permanent record of the a beginning of a wondrous marking point, where I can sink back in with myself and my thoughts in that particular moment where I've come so far, and yet there is still so much turbulence within me. Talking about this turbulence, the mind is a tricky bastard. You see, it's always trying to find excuses, and it's always trying to hone in on what it wants, and it's trying to find quick options. And even though you're, a thinking person, and you're having realizations all the time, and you're learning more about how this works, and you're making a certain amount of progress, it can trip you up for days in a row. And it's only by the effects in the outside world that you can then receive an insight into a new element within yourself, or well, maybe not, maybe an old element that's kicking up, if you like. What is it? Carl Jung said something about anything in the subconscious that is suppressed plays itself out as a story or a drama, something like that in reality. I can't remember it right now. But, what I've noticed is when you start getting close to being really different, like I remember this particular, and don't think for a second that I've ever given up, and I will never give up. But I just know there's going to be hard times here and there, and I've been through one of those stages, especially the last few days. Found it very difficult to concentrate. I sit down and there's something I need to do, some paperwork, and my mind just wants to watch YouTube videos and think about anything but what I should be doing. Someone who's very dear to me that I shouldn't go into this too much, but I've said it in previous videos when I was feeling in that mood. So someone I really wanted to meet, and it was very disappointing when the lockdown prevented that. So different days it can resurface at times, and you find yourself getting drawn into frustrations. And there's other stuff that's more private that would I've never known a period of such multiple blockages and frustrations and challenges and difficulties, pretty much on every conceivable level. I think I said when this video opened, I wouldn't even want to think about it being much, much worse. You see, that even the things that you feel good about all contain their own problems as well. So, for instance, when you have real spiritual experiences with entities, and you have an ongoing relationship, and you're receiving these snippets of information and connection in dreams and all this kind of stuff, you are splitting in a way. And this isn't entirely bad, you see, because there's me that makes these videos right now, and then there's the other me that goes to work, and they're both the same person, but they're also different. And I find that the more challenges that present themselves in life, I want to live more in that side of me that is exploring these wondrous experiences, because it's more attractive than the mundane. But when you do that for a little while, and then you neglect the mundane, what happens is the mundane comes back to really bite you in the arse, whereby you then cannot concentrate on the more elevated aspects that you're really wanting to enjoy. Like, you got to do obviously this side in order to maintain that side, and the only reason you can even deal with this side It's because you have the other, and it's like getting these two in perfect balance. It's like there's always a, and I found this sweet spot just a few weeks ago actually, and I wouldn't say that it's left me. It's still there, obviously, and there's always going to be a fluctuation. But as a kind of conclusion to all this that I've just been banging on about, what happens is that I feel like when the subconscious realizes exactly what it needs to do and realizes how close it is to, God, if I can just do this and just maintain this balance and that, I really can achieve. I can be this person that, this more elevated aspect that I'm aiming for, and I can achieve A, B, C. And it doesn't stop it being difficult, but the most surprising thing is that if you have any kind of shame in terms of things that you've dealt with in the past, the way you've behaved, or any kind of stuff that's lingering around from your childhood, there is a subconscious voice that is saying no. And it's bizarre. You see, in order to enter full maturity, you have to kind of say goodbye to a more easy sense of escapism. You see, you can use your meditation, all this kind of stuff, as pure escapism. I'm sure there's people that think that they're getting somewhere and the whole thing has been escapism from beginning to end. But you see, that doesn't make it wrong. It's still a good start, because there's always going to be an aspect of that, because that's just part of being human on this journey. So when you're starting to realize, like, which parts of it are real, which parts of it are escapism, and no doubt about the reality of wondrous experiences I'm very grateful to have had, and I must be very grateful for a certain amount of natural ability that has enabled me to have that kind of confidence and made that possible. Whilst at the same time, if we're talking about gifts, blessings, in terms of what you arrive with that's positive, there is also what you arrive with which is negative, and there is also that stemming back in the past, which is saying, which is expressing the question, do you deserve to grow up? You see, it's a very difficult thing when you are wanting to be fully functional in a society that is pretty much a joke on many levels. So for instance, family background, all that kind of thing, when it's broken down and dissipated, not entirely, there are treasures, but don't want to go into that right now. When you feel great, it's great to be self-employed and all that kind of thing, but it doesn't stop it being physically demanding, and it's never going to stop being physically demanding. And there's also the curse of talent, in a way, the gift and the curse, because if you're good at certain things, then you have to live with the guilt when you look back over the last few months thinking, I could have produced more art, I could have done more writing, could have done better at this, I could have, you know, it's like when I used to be a musician, pretty much, you know, like full on making music. I used to think about all the songs that I'd never written and the songs that I had written but not recorded. It used to really plague me. And not quite, but I've almost entirely let go of that now, that frustration, because I realised now that, you know, did pretty well, you know. But again, inner resistance, escapism, still producing good results. Still very tricky to differentiate between, you know, what is valid progress and what is the aspect of escapism. I think it's very important to admit this, because I mean, I don't know, but I mean, see, when you listen to people on the net talking about these kinds of subjects, they might leave out the things that make them look bad. But you see, if you are communicating these kind of ideas, even though, you know, even if it's just a few people here and there that might just remember something you said, some weird guy that they tuned into, if you're going to leave this impression that it's all success and it's all easy and you're really cool, you know, and really in control all of the time, then not only are you letting those people down, because they will encounter what you, similar kinds of situations to what you are. But you will also look like a really, really big fool in the future. I mean, how can I put this, you know, it's a bit like that living through photographs thing on the net. It's like just the good days, just the good angles, just all the good stuff. You can sense the fakery, can't you? You know, and it will fly a certain distance, but sooner or later it's gonna, you know, the engine's gonna start giving out, and it's gonna be, you can sense it, you can feel it. The inner resistance of the deep psyche linked to any kind of shame, escapism, things that you're not too good at. This is why, you know, it's really cool. Like, obviously, you know, teacher that I'm very lucky to work with talks about facing the things that you're not good at and creating balance and challenging yourself in certain areas. And so I believe there is a consideration of that point there, and also a notion of failure and how to deal with it. And talks about his own failures, which is, you know, which makes me feel a lot more confident about my own, you know. And you see, how can you navigate a life with so many splits and so many loose ends, and when there's so much friction, you know, whatever way you look at things, you know, and the only answer is to admit and to be able to see these situations going on inside you, and to you know, to face them and to be honest about them with yourself. And even me, like making this video now, is a way of, you know, a kind of like a self-help thing for me, you know. And just one moment. What, we got 20 minutes at the moment. Excuse me. Now, when I'm walking out, if I leave the van with this around my neck, people give me a wide berth. See you for part 2.